friendly and taking such good care of me. And I absolutely love it. Thank you so much. I want to tell you a little bit about myself first for context. So my name is Caleb Torres. I am a pastor with the Brotherhood of Christ Church in the United States. And since 2018, I have also taught grades 4 through 6 reading and writing. Before that, though, I had anxiety disorder. After I graduated high school, I had gotten really sick, and I found myself in a mental state where I couldn't really work in the relationships I had had as a child, and through school kind of started failing because I just the stress of maintaining a relationship was almost too much, and it was a very dark time of my life, very stressful, anxious time, and times where I wondered, what really is the point of life? Why am I doing this? Every day is anxiety, every day is panic, every day is just trying to survive. After, let's say, a year, I started seeing a therapist, and I also started having regular conversations with my pastor at the time. And I'm going to start first to tell you what the therapist taught me, and I like to, person who spoke before me, I forget his name, I'm sorry, talked about mindfulness and relaxation. And my therapist stressed that a lot. Focus on what's in front of you. So your breath, your breathing. Focus on your feet, just how it feels, what you're touching. And that was very essential for getting over the hard mountain to start with. Get moving. Growing beyond that, my pastor taught me something very, very similar, and he called it present moment faith. And the two concepts are very similar. Many of us, and I was this way, live our lives thinking about what has to be done. So we have these tasks to be done at work, this checklist to be accomplished, bills to be paid, traveling that has to get done on time. And it's always, boy, I gotta get this done, I have to be at my job at this time, I got to get these certain grades or accomplishments for a degree. And I was always looking for, I gotta basically survive getting this done, and this done, and this done, and this done. And always looking for what needs overcome. And I'm going to call that a survival mentality. I had a close friend in the church saying, you can't just survive, you need to thrive. And there's a lot of truth in that. Learning how to thrive. One of the first places I started was really engaging with what was right in front of me. Instead of running from task to task, job to job, or even anxiety from anxiety. I'm worried, okay, I gotta make sure I have groceries. I have to make sure I got enough money. I have to make sure I don't miss the bus. And it's a life of running. Physically, perhaps, but also mentally. You're in your emotions, in your heart, in your mind. You're always on the run. And what my pastor taught me is the old saying, stop and smell the roses. And whether it's connecting with the flower in front of you, or the cloud, clouds, or we have the lovely ocean out here. It's my first time seeing the ocean coming over the Philippines. I love it. Connecting to the present. And in English, present is a wonderful word because the present is a gift. We only live in the present. The past is already behind us. And the future is not yet here. And when we get there, it's the present. So we live now. And most of us don't live now. We're living for down the road. And so we miss the joy of life. We miss the nourishment of life. So one of the things I encourage people in my work as I advise people and offer counseling in the church and teaching and instruction is we live life believing God exists. However we think of God, whatever we give Him. But we do not live our life as if He exists. We say, oh yeah, I believe in God somewhere. But that belief doesn't affect how we live. For example, we all know that to be healthy, we have to get our nutrients. The vitamins, the minerals, proper balance of carbohydrates and fats and proteins. And we recognize when someone is malnourished. Say this person's not getting enough, and their hair is falling out, or they're sick. And when a person is sick, we have to get them what they need. And we know, okay, they need this medicine. It's important that they get vitamin C. Spiritually, mentally, it's no different. And God is the ultimate pharmacist. And the creation nature is made for that spiritual, mental nourishment. I tell people, God made the world. He surely did a good job when He did it. And it's more than just food for our bellies that we have. It's food for the soul. Because at some point, the body is not going to be around much longer. Some sooner, some longer, but all of us at some point are going to end the same race in our bodies. And that can be unsettling, uncertain. What does that mean? Why am I even here? And mentally, spiritually, it puts you in that state of, if I'm just surviving, if I'm just making it day to day, if I'm just trying to get that promotion or just trying to make it to the next paycheck, why? And that can lead down very dark roads, suicide, and just general miserable lives, depression, anxiety. So we have to look for food for the soul. The ocean, the flowers, the birds and the trees, the clouds when they form and the rain falls. Take a moment sometime and just marvel at it. And marvel at life. I know for me, this was one of the biggest mental paradigms I had to change. The perspective I had that was incorrect. I felt that life was on me. But only a part of life is on me. We do not know what tomorrow may bring. There's lots we can't control. Even the miracle of the action of the cells in our body to what goes on in the sun to produce sunlight, all of that is beyond our control. And peace comes most in life when we know what is in our control and what is out of our control, and accepting the difference. So there's a saying, let go and let God. I don't know if that it made it over the ocean or not, but in America, in different churches, I've heard that saying. And I really love the saying, because I know for me, and I think lots of people do, walk around carrying stress like a great big backpack. And you got all the stresses of your day, your classes, and what students, and this child's not meeting expectations, he's struggling at home, I got bad weather coming, and we're just throwing more and more stress in the backpack. And we go through life thinking, how can I carry all of this? I can't ever accomplish everything I need to accomplish. But the good news is, your life is not all on you. The fact that you're here on planet Earth, breathing, was not your decision to make. You were born, and you grew. And at some point in the growing process, we realized, I can decide things, I can choose things and influence my life one way or the other. And the stresses of the world we've taken on add more and more and more. And I love watching little children play because they're very present focused. When they're caught up, they're playing, they're really enjoying their ice cream, they just love watching, some pretty bird shows up, and they're so in the focus, and they're caught up in the joy of the present. Feeling the present of life. That God, however we seem to be, gives life to us as a gift. I know I didn't ask for it, I just found myself alive one day. And I certainly couldn't make it happen. It's a gift. And reminding ourselves that life is a gift. And so enjoy it. Otherwise, it's a wasted gift. I told someone one time, and they were just worry after worry. I said, you're walking around in the most amazing present you could ever ask for. I said, someone went through the trouble and made all these trees and the hills you walk on, and just the air you breathe, and the birds you hear singing in the trees, and the flowers that are growing by the road. I said, someone went through a whole lot of work to give you all these presents, and you don't see it. You're so worried about surviving. Look at the present. That can be very hard to do in a work situation because the nature of work asks us to look beyond the present. And it's good to plan and look ahead. We know when a typhoon is coming, you need to be ready. It's important to prepare. When people are coming over, a family's coming over for a birthday party, you want to prepare, looking ahead. Even teaching itself is looking ahead because this is the future of the individual child, this is the future of the community, this is the future of the nation and these children. And it is looking ahead. But there has to be a balance. If you look so far ahead that you miss the present, when you get to the end, someday, you're going to wind up realizing you're unhappy, you're depressed, you're anxious, you're stressed, because you're not looking, you're thinking that accomplishment is down the road. I encourage people that every day, before you go to bed, step outside and just look, if you can, sky, the stars where you can see it. And just take a moment and reflect on the gift of the day you had. Sometimes it takes, like he mentioned earlier, set aside breaks. And when you have breaks, use it to the best of your ability. When you're at work, you put yourself into your work. And you work your hardest, you do your best for your students, for your community. When you take a moment to unplug from your work, unplug from future thinking, really immerse yourself in the present. And that's where the mindfulness comes in. Really notice the intricacies, the details, the beauty of a flower. Just one flower if you want. And let yourself forget everything else. Your work will still be there when you come back. Don't worry. It's not leaving. Just lose yourself and taking a walk and noticing what you see. The peace comes from being happy in the present. Happiness is not something that you're working for. You don't have to do a bunch of work so someday you can be happy. Happiness is meant to be experienced now. It's a state of being that we should look to experience daily. Now, there are hard things in life, obviously. Death of loved ones, sicknesses, hardships, feeling with someone going through a struggle. But happiness always has to be experienced in the present. And it's designed to be that way. If happiness, I sometimes do these thought experiments with people. If happiness was something down the road, that someday I'll get to be happy, then that means that life is miserable. And we just have to accept that life is miserable. It's just going to be that way until someday I'll have survived and did all my, like a prison sentence. Life is not a prison sentence. But I'm here and I gotta accomplish all these things, and someday I'll be retired, I'll have enough money, I'll be able to do finally what I want, I'll have that dream house, I'll have spouse, kids all grown up, off to college, whatever your idea of happiness is. That kind of thinking about happiness makes your present moment unable to be happy. And however you think of spirituality, we all can agree that happiness is a desirable feeling. It's a desirable state of being. We want to be there. And to think about it, say, go through your day and realize, I'm not happy right now. That's one of the biggest steps in the process, because we are where we are and nowhere else. So how do we go from being continually future focused to present focused? We have to go through little tricks to remind us. And one trick I do is, if I go through my day and I realize I'm not happy, I need to do something different. And usually it's inside. Happiness, if it's dependent on, for a child having an ice cream, then his happiness is dependent on external. And we can't control the world, which is probably for the better. Because we'd mess it up, I'm sure. I know I would. So happiness is something in our minds that we have to do. And realizing, whoa, I'm stressed, I'm anxious, I'm burnt out, I don't want to do this anymore. I need to think about my life differently. And it can be small. It can be simply having a fresh mango, which is amazing. I love fresh mangoes. It could be just taking a walk. It could be even sitting in your classroom and looking at the children playing outside, finding yourself in the moment, completely, totally in the moment. And remembering that happiness is something not only do you want, but you can have it now. And the present is just waiting for you to open. God gave you this whole earth. He gave you life. We don't deserve life. We couldn't achieve life. But we're given life. We're given the earth and the beautiful mountains and the trees and the birds. And so we should appreciate it. And just like a great gift, thankfulness is important for good mental health and spiritual well-being. Expressing thankfulness for the gift that you do have, for the gift of life, for the sunrise, for the bird singing, the fact that you're healthy enough to have the headache of dealing with 30 children every day, or more than 30 children. That's an amazing gift. The fact that you have that trial and toil in life is a gift. And so to not lose sight of it on down the road, on all the tasks you have to do, all the work and the bills and reports, and those they need done. They're not fun.
Yes.
But your life, if you spend your whole life just living to do that, are you going to be happy? Is your life going to be fulfilled? And so, when you decide to just take the time, and that's the hardest part. We feel like we don't have time to be happy. Which, when you say it that way, sounds funny. I'll be happy next week. I don't have time to be happy now. No, even if it's just 5 minutes, the rest of your day, not only will you be happier, you'll be more productive. Your relationships with your students, with your coworkers, with your family, will be made better and stronger. And happiness tends to create more happiness. I don't know if you all know someone who is just a ray of sunshine. They got that big smile. And we can then nourish others the same way. And it's kind of like God's given us the bottle of vitamins and all the gifts of nature and all the gifts of life. And we just got to open that bottle and take the pill. But most of us feel like we don't have time to be healthy. We don't have time to feed our souls, to feed our spirits, to feed our mental health. We'll feed our bodies, but we won't feed what really counts, what makes our bodies worth having. If you have a body, you might as well make the most of it with being happy. So, I had a thought. I was thinking on the bus here, what was I going to say? So, spiritual nourishment. In that let go, let God saying, it's not saying that you just give up trying to accomplish things. It's not saying that, well, it's in God's hands. There are things that are in God's hands. It's the balance of being comfortable with what is in your hands and what is not in your hands. And being happy. We can't control if it's going to rain. We can't control if our children have a happy home where they come to school and have struggles. We can't control what the traffic's going to be, but we can control where we are inside when we experience those things. So, when the child is acting up in class, you can say, Thank you, God, that I am here and I can be patient and a support and a help for this little person. And you can say, thank you, and you're stuck in traffic and it seems like you can't get where you're going. Having the thanks and appreciation for the clouds you're watching, for the air, just for the fact that you're alive and you can travel. I've always been amazed by those people who, have lost all their limbs, or they're blind, or they've gone through some very life-changing trauma, but they're very happy. And I think to myself, what's it inside of them that makes them happy where I might get upset if I am on crutches for a week, or if, the food didn't come out the way it was supposed to, or my neighbor was playing loud music late at night. Like, those are small problems compared to what other people go through. There's people who don't have legs, arms. There's people who lose loved ones, lose their sight, terminal illness, go on and on and on. Some of them find something to be happy. And that's present thinking. Your life, you only live in the present. So think of it as a present. And when you find yourself unhappy with life, and you find yourself wishing you were somewhere else, wishing for next week and next month or after retirement, find yourself wishing for the next promotion, or just wishing that the 5 o'clock bell would ring and you can clock out and go home. Remember, I am here now. I am here in the present, and I need to make the most of this gift, because someday, this is all I have, is now.
Yes.
I hope that helps. It's not... I do want to reference something. An excellent quote from Jesus said. He talked about the sparrow. And he said, sparrows can't fall to the ground without God being aware of it. And he says, the sparrows are common. You can sell a bunch for just a couple pesos. And he said, aren't you worth more than many sparrows? Not one hair from your head can fall to the ground, and God doesn't know about it. So thinking of your life in those terms, thinking of the fact of the miracle of that you can walk, that I can make noise and you can understand me, I hope. I don't speak Messiah. He says, the raven doesn't put by stores what God provides. And we can't store up air. The water comes out of the earth, and it comes out of the sky. We can't only store that up for so long. And the soil, you don't have a whole bunch of barrels of soil behind your house in case you run out of dirt someday. So there's the let God part. There's the perspective of someone was smart enough to create all of this. Someone was smart enough that I'm alive, and I can trust that as long as I am doing my best in engaging in happy present living, that my future will also be taken care of. And where you find yourself in your walk, if you start in a happy place and keep on that trail, you'll find your life will be a happy life. Because your life is just a whole collection of present moments.